Alright, so my first go at putting in a suspended ceiling. I'm assuming most people that put one in, put them in a basement. That's what this is. So this is actually an exercise room I'm working on. So they come in 12-foot lengths here. So here's where my splice is. There's no way around that as far as I know. So I'm trying to keep it pretty close to the ceiling. My next piece here will set on top of that, but I'm going to run the other long length of the wall here. And then the piece that goes in between here and the long wall, that'll be set on top. I'm not going to miter the corners or anything like that. And I'm just using I think it's just a normal construction nail, or not even a construction nail. What is this? Oh, here we go. This is that's what I'm using to put them in. They're not very big. I think they're like 1 3/8 or something like that. So there you go. I'll keep you posted. Alright, so this is where I'm at. I haven't shown too much of how I've done this. I got kind of part of it going here. So this center thing here, my ladder, the center support, so that's just resting on top of that like molding or that 90-degree channel on the end here. And then I have it wired up right here. And you're supposed to use thinner wire, but I wasn't about to go buy special wire for this, so I'm just using leftover copper wire, and I mean, it seems to work. I got the panel in there, so this side I don't have any of the tiles in because I got to figure out what I'm doing with lighting. I think I'm gonna put like a fluorescent tube lighting up in here. These I just put up here as work lights so I could see what I was doing when I was working on this room. So it doesn't look bad. If I figured my spacing out right, to balance the room, there should be a panel like this here, and then when we get to the other end of the room, it should be the same thing. So this is a 12-foot center, and it gets me almost to the end. So I got a little bit here. I got another one I'll cut off to fit in there, and I also got to add my channel here on the end, but I got to figure out how I'm gonna do that because I made some cutting mistakes. So what I had was 4 12-foot sections, and this room is almost 16. So what I was gonna do, no, this room is 15.4. So I was gonna cut off what I needed off one 12-foot section. No, off of both. I was just gonna cut off like a 4-foot piece on 2 of the 12s, and then have plenty for the 7 there and then the 7 over here. Well, what I did was cut that 12. I cut both 4-foot pieces out of that 12, so now all I have left is this piece here, which is not long enough, and then this piece here. So I don't know if I want to splice that. It's not that expensive. I could probably just buy another piece and then just cut it up and throw it in the car so it fits, so I don't have to take the trailer to Menards. But I was gonna wait until I got more up here, because then I may just go and buy some fluorescent lights. So, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep the lighting in the same spot, but I think I'm putting one on each side. And I'll have to buy some of those clear tiles too. But for right now, I just want to see how it looks. I think it looks alright. It actually looks pretty straight and square. So, there you go. Okay, I didn't show you how I cut these. So, you figure out your distance where you need to cut, or your distance between your main strut, and then in this case it's going to be the wall, because that's all I got in here. It's a pretty simple setup. And all I do is on here is where I hook my ruler. You don't want to hook it on here because this piece actually goes into that channel. So, and then the other end just lays on top of that molding. So I know I need 41.5 or a little less. And I've made quite a few extra cuts here because this room's not exactly square. And then I'm just using this tin snips to get me where I need to be here. And the way I found that seems to work the best is to cut both sides first. So what I do is I cut the flat part here, that will be exposed first, and then I just come back and cut through this main part, which cuts a little bit more difficult. So, and then that's kind of what it looks like, and it'll be covered up in the wall. Let's see how tight this is. So, and then I'm going 2 foot, and there roughly 4. They're cut down, they're not quite 4, so then you gotta find your next hole, and these are every, I think, 8 inches all the way across here. So alright, so this is where I'm at. Got the end here all buttoned up. I ended up buying a single 25 watt fluorescent fixture, and I wired that in. I got the rest of these in. It's looking pretty good. Almost looks like I know what I'm doing. This one here is going to take a little bit because I got 2 wires, and then I also have I got to figure out how I'm going to rig it up so I can hang it. I've been hanging them on chains. Just seems to work better, and it's a 3-foot because these panels here are like 41 3/4. Okay, so I'll show you how I did this light here. So this is what it is. This is a 25 watt, and the actual bulb is not what I wanted. It's more of a softer white. I wanted more of the bright white. They didn't have any of those bulbs, so I just went with this. 25 watt, it's 36 inches, and like I said, if you look at it here, it just barely fits in this opening because the opening is like 41 3/4 or something like that. So, and then what I used was this, I bought these acrylic panels. These things are expensive. They're like $9 for a 4x2, and I don't know any good way of cutting this. I can tell you it cracks very easily. You can tell here, and that's just from like carrying it. You got to be extremely careful with it or it just cracks. And razor blade doesn't cut it nice, and neither does a tin snips. Tin snips, as soon as you start cutting into it, it just starts splitting and cracking all over the place. So a little disappointed in that. And I've worked with this stuff before, and I know it's not ideal, but that's what was down in the basement, so I'm just trying to replace the stuff with what it was. So I'll get that panel up. That's a trick. It's going to be a trick getting it in this last spot because there's no space, but I think now, maybe there's enough space here I can sneak it past. I kept this right up tight to the ceiling, so all of these panels actually went in really tight. So I don't know, like this here bothers me. I'm gonna have to get this down. Maybe I can go on the other side and tap it down a little bit. Some of that I think will wear in. But this one here looks like it's up. Yeah, it is a little bit. So, and I know they talk about pop riveting it, putting a pop rivet in the corner, and then where this part is up here, running a pop rivet in the end. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not too concerned about it. It's just a basement. It's just being used as like an exercise room. So, alright, let me get that panel up. Alright, so I got this last acrylic panel in here. That's what it looks like. Let's see here. So total cost for this project, I'm going to estimate was about, let me make sure I get this right, 120 bucks. It doesn't include the tile. These tile were up here before, but then when I kind of did some alternate work here on the walls and stuff, I took the tiles down, and the room was a little bit smaller after I got done. So I had to cut all the tiles down, but all the suspended ceiling work I didn't reuse. It was just easier to get new stuff and put it up. And I think some of the other stuff is rusted. And this isn't supposed to rust, so we'll see. So yeah, I think I had about 60 or 57 in the actual suspended ceiling parts. The cross tees, and then the main, and then the trim on the outside. And then I had another 60 in lights. I think each one of those fluorescent lights was like 12 or 14, and then the bulbs are about the same for 2, which is ridiculous. So I don't know if there was any. Oh, and then those acrylic panels, those were like $9 a piece. So I think they've got to be pretty close to about 120 in the ceiling, but this really makes it look finished, just unreal. So let me get the treadmill back in here. Right, so there I got the treadmill back in. So the plan is, there's a punching bag on the other side that my wife wants me to mount. I'm thinking it's going to go in this corner here, Not sure exactly how I'm going to do that because I really want to keep this somewhat intact, unless I don't know, mount it off this wall somehow, possibly, maybe. Guess that's a possibility too. So, and then over on this wall here, so one thing with the lights, I didn't want to get it crazy bright down here because I didn't want it in your face as you're working out. Plan to put a flat screen TV over here and mount it up on the wall so when you're exercising you can watch the television. So that would be nice. So, I don't know, I think this project turned out alright. I think the worst purchase in this was this cheap window I bought for 30 bucks. That was just a waste. The thing is always condensating during the summer, during the winter. So there it is, finished project.